Hello, my name is Stephen from K-Scale Models, and today I'm doing a video on how to design beam sabers. So someone on Facebook asked me, how do you design a beam saber? This is actually relatively simple, but I'm going to break it down into three parts. First part, I'm just going to go over naming all the areas. Second part, I'm going to go and show you how I drew it. Then, third part, I'm going to go over how to detail it, which I suspect is actually what the question was about. So, let's go over it. So, first off, what are all the parts? Well, we've got down here what we call the pommel, so the bottom of the sword. Here is the grip. Here is the guard. And this is the beam effect part. Now, quick tip, do not draw your own beam effect part. 3D printing clear is just kind of a nightmare. It comes out cloudy, it needs a lot of sanding. If you're doing it in resin, you can't use IPA, then you have to whack it with clear coat and that'll bring it out. But yeah, for all that effort, you will generally find that there's a ready supply of beam sabers close to hand, or at least beam effect parts, if you've made any Gunpla models, because the kits generally come with like 2 beam saber effect parts, so just use that. This does mean that you have to make make the beam saber fit the beam effect part that you have, but again, you should have a variety of them. Now, how do you actually design this? Now, I'm going to come off of this particular one and go over to one that I drew up when I was asked the question. This is the beam saber for the Murasame. It's the old one, the Gundam Seed Destiny one, not the new Gundam Seed Freedom. So, anyway, this is how I draw it. Just draw the basic outline of it, or at least just half, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to revolve everything around here. So, what we've got here is we've got the pommel, the grip, the guard, and this bit at the top is where the the beam effect part would be put in. As you can see, what I do when I'm doing like half of a model is I will actually make a little formula up. I'll say 1.3, which is the size of the beam effect part, divide by 2, so that's like half of it, plus 0.2. So that's just basically saying give this thing a clearance of 0.2. You'll see it here as well, except without the clearance, because this is just the part. I'm not basing it on the diameter of another part. Now, I will note that this will very comfortably fit in this hand here. This is my generic hand model. You'll find a link to it at the bottom. This is how I test to make sure things will fit together. Now, the hand on a high grade is slightly slanted, which is fine. It gives a bit of a dynamic pose. But if we go in here, I believe if you're making your own one, do that, offset minus 0.2, you're looking at about 3.1 millimeters in diameter is like the max size of a beam saber. Although you will note from here, this one was only 2.8. So generally beam sabers are a lot thinner, although this one's also quite long. It's 12.2 millimeters long. As you can see there, that's quite a bit bigger than the hand that holds it. The other thing to think about when you're thinking of connection points is how is it going to fit to the actual kit. In the Murasame's case, that's what this peg's for. In the Doctress's case, that's what I made this for, because it didn't come with the kit. So that's the sort of mechanics you have to take into account when designing it. As I said, really simple. Now, let's get on to the detailing part. So, most beam sabers will actually just look like this. Just simple round parts. Now, there is differences you can do here. And the Murasame and the Doctress's beam saber actually do give a good contrast on things you can do. So the first one here is this pommel. It's wider on the mirror seams than it is the Dotris. The Dotris, because the pommel is so small, what you can do is you actually don't need to take the hand apart to fit the actual beam saber in. The mirror seam, you will need to take the hand apart to fit the beam saber. That's what most kits will do. So if you are planning on having the beam saber held at crazy angles, you may need to add a wider pommel so that you can. The hand won't fall. Oh, sorry, it won't fall through the hand. Although, just as I was playing around there, because I've got the mirror seam's hand and beam saber in my hand, I was able to pull the pommel through, but it's like not easy, and I'm pretty sure the plates plates actually coming off when I do that. Okay. Details apart from that, they're kind of optional because there's two places the beam saber will be, either in the model's hand, at which point you won't see a lot of detail, or in its holster. And in fact, I think the way the Mirror Signs beam saber was designed is designed specifically because it's going to be in a holster. So let's just go through what it's got. So as I said, this side is where it connects to the kit. So when when you're looking at it on the kit, this is the majority of what you're seeing. You're seeing that, or that. And you've got this big panel line. Not many kits have not many beam sabers have a panel line. Now, how did I draw this particular panel line? Well, I drew a sketch just in the middle of this, and then I drew these lines. You'd be drawing your own lines for your own one, so I'm not going to go into detail about how this is all worked out because this is just specific for this kit. Then I split the bodies, so I split this all up to fit the beam. No, I'm doing this wrong. To cut this chamfer in it. So I cut this all up. This left, this left this as its own body. So I then did an offset face and pushed it in. This little peg bit up here, that's a very similar story. I just drew a little square here and then offset face. I actually had to do two here because it was partly on the guard and partly on the handle. Now, this actually is quite useful, this bit, because that will stop the beam saber from just spinning around in the model's hand. So it'll keep it nice and secure. So you can do little things like that where you add a sort of peg just so that it catches on like in this area, in that area. So yeah, that is actually quite a good thing to do on your models, but you don't have to, because as I said, if it's not really going to be in the hand a lot, you can just make it a nice circular like this, like just plain. Now, there is other things you can do to add detail. You can always add like what they've done here, where they've got an extra ring bit at the top. This is where the beam will actually come out, rather than just the guard. You can go more like this type of pommel, where it's actually a round pommel. And you could change the handle a little. So you can see here I kind of made ribs on this. And just trying to remember how I did it. Oh yeah, no. This was just when I was revolving it. I made a little checker bit. I actually made... Oh yeah, I remember this now. And I actually made a curve to the handle. So that's something else you might want to look at is, do you want to make it just straight or do you want to make it a little bit of curve? Now, there is other shapes that you can make beam sabers. I have seen oval ones. Gundam 00 famously has like rectangular, square beam sabers. So that means that if you're doing that, you're going to need to make sure you get the beam effect part from those particular models. Another thing you could always do is what is your sword used for, or your beam saber? Because this here is an anti-ship sword from Gundam Seed. It's got a pummel here to go whack people with, but the thing is, this is a striker pack. And this is a massive sword that goes along with it, because the idea of these things is you go up to a ship and just start hacking away. Get below its guns. So yeah, one thing you might want to do, and this is just in general when designing models and from your own head, is give yourself themes, give yourself like a story to work with. What is the settings technology level? Is it Iron-Blooded Orphans level, where your best bet is a club? Or is it something like late UC, where it's all mystic powers? That is a question you will have to answer. But I hope that I've given you some ideas on how you would go about detailing and making a beam saber. For now though, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.